Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. We are just 1 week away now until the next WWE pay-per-view, which is the Raw branded Clash of Champions. Almost said Night of Champions because I've been making that mistake. I'm still not sure why WWE changed that name to Clash of Champions from Night of Champions, and even Mick Foley's calling it the Clash of the Champions when it's just Clash of Champions. The whole thing is confusing and silly, I think. Why change the name? But whatever. Anyways, got your questions here. Let's get started with the first one, which comes from American Psycho Wolf. Since Raw's ratings are going down, will WWE pull the brand extension to get Cena, Orton, and others on Raw? No. Part of the goal of the brand extension was to get SmackDown higher viewership and boost up that show. SmackDown's ratings have been up. As a matter of fact, SmackDown this past week was almost identical to Raw in terms of viewership. Now, a lot of that is due to Monday Night Football and 3-hour Raws, but still, SmackDown has been gaining momentum, and because of that, the brand extension is being seen as a success so far. Now, if SmackDown ratings drop over the next 6 months, then WWE may reevaluate things. I would be shocked if WWE gave up on the brand extension right away. I think that we'll see it for at least a couple of years, and then if things start to fizzle out, WWE might just give up on it, go back to one roster, and then try it again 5-10 years down the line. I could see that happening, but I'm really hopeful WWE will stick to it this time and keep SmackDown as an equal brand to Raw. If SmackDown is given the attention and is portrayed as an equal show to Raw, then there's no reason why SmackDown and Raw cannot be separate shows. Got this question here from Gil Dust. If you could book WrestleMania 33's card with the current roster, what would be your top 3 matches? For people that have been watching these videos, they know what I'm going to say. Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar. Have Samoa Joe be the guy that beats the man that ended The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. I would also do Finn Balor coming back, going for the Universal title against Kevin Owens. And then the third main event, somehow pull it off, whether it's a brand match, brand versus brand, you have AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins, or do AJ Styles versus Nakamura. One of those 2 matches for WrestleMania. Definitely have AJ Styles in the WWE title match at WrestleMania against either Rollins or Nakamura. Either one of those matches would be awesome. Those would be my top 3 matches right there. This one comes from TJ Perkins. What were your thoughts on the outcome of the Cruiserweight Classic? I'm very happy for TJ Perkins to win the Cruiserweight Classic. I know a lot of people were expecting Ibushi to win, but it was Perkins who committed to the contract, and that was the reason why they went with him as champion. And he has really busted his ass for several years to get where he's at. All of them have. So I'm happy for all of the competitors in the Cruiserweight Classic. I'm glad WWE has been focusing on the Cruiserweights again and giving them a stage to perform on. I watched that last episode. I mean, I wasn't following a lot of the Cruiserweight Classic, but I did watch the final episode, and Perkins versus Ibushi was just insane. I mean, those 2 guys are incredible. I hope that WWE can get Ibushi on the main roster at some point and sign him to a full-time contract. That would be awesome. All those guys really showcased their abilities in the best way possible and really brought out their best effort. I was really happy with the outcome of it, and I think it's a nice change of pace, and we'll see if WWE does it again and if they make it an annual thing. This one comes from James Tullett. Hey Aaron, should Cruiserweight Classic be an annual pay-per-view just like King of the Ring, with the winner facing the Cruiserweight Champion at a big pay-per-view? I like that idea, and I don't even think I would wait a year. I think I might even do another Cruiserweight tournament like in March, and then lead that into WrestleMania, where you have the winner of that tournament challenging the Cruiserweight champion at WrestleMania. I think that that would be a great idea. And if not that, then maybe just doing it in the summer and leading up to SummerSlam. That's something you could do to elevate the SummerSlam pay-per-view. I would definitely make it an annual thing. This one comes from Mr. Yuck. Do you think SmackDown will introduce a Cruiserweight division or possibly a new division like TV or such? The problem is that SmackDown is just a 2-hour show, and guys are already struggling enough as it is to get TV time. With Raw, it's a different thing because it's a 3-hour show, and you need something to help fill out those 3 hours, and that's what the Cruiserweight division is going to do. That should hopefully make Raw a more tolerable show because you get a little bit more variety, and it's something new and fresh that we're seeing on Monday nights. Theoretically, the Cruiserweight division should help make Raw a better show. Introducing a Cruiserweight division to SmackDown just isn't really necessary. I mean, SmackDown is doing well. Why fix something that's not broken? SmackDown has been getting great reviews from fans. People are loving SmackDown as it is. So why make any unnecessary changes or additions? Got this one here from Sean T. Flick. Many are wanting CM Punk in WWE, but with them trying to establish new stars, would that be a recipe for another disaster? Not necessarily. I think CM Punk coming back could benefit both parties if that's something Punk wanted to do, and I'm sure at this point that's the farthest thing from his mind, but I talked about this in one of the recent videos. I think that if he came back, there are a lot of possibilities for him right now. If he came back, I would still think that there would be a lot of possibilities, guys that he could face that he never faced before in a WWE ring, guys like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, and the list just goes on and on. Nakamura, tons of guys that Punk can go against, and I think that that would be great for him. I think he would fit right back in, and the people would accept him, and he would make money. WWE would make money. So to me, it's a win-win for both sides if that's something Punk ever wants to do. And of course, I think WWE will bring him back. There's no doubt Punk coming back would be money. It's a no-brainer. If he wants to come back, he'll be back one day. This one comes from B Money. What were your thoughts on Vince Russo having Kanyon thrown off the cage in the same building Owen Hart died in a year earlier? It was really bad taste. I mean, that's what people remember the most from that segment, the fact that it was in Kemper Arena, almost a year to the day from when Owen Hart died. And yeah, that made the whole thing really uncomfortable, and it sucks because Kanyon took this huge bump that should have been remembered as something special, and instead it's something that people look back on as one of the things that led to WCW's demise, just yet another thing that WCW screwed up. And then, of course, the whole way that Kanyon was booked afterwards, he could have come back as this ultimate sympathetic babyface. So what does WCW do? They turn him heel almost immediately. He's yet another person. I think he was like the third person to turn on DDP. First it was Kimberly acting like she's going to hit Jarrett with a guitar, but no, she hits DDP. And then it happened with David Arquette at the Slamboree pay-per-view. Looks like he's going to hit Jarrett, but no, he hits DDP. And then it happens again. Kanyon acts like he's going to help DDP, but no, he attacks DDP. It was a really lame storyline. Speaking of the guy behind the Kanyon heel turn, from Joshua, who do you think has more to offer right now from a creative side to add to WWE? Vince Russo or Eric Bischoff? I'm going to go ahead and say neither, but I will pick one person, and this is going to be even more confusing for some people considering my previous answer to that last question, but I would go with Russo. I mean, Russo, the reason I say neither is because I don't think Russo fits in with today's WWE, which is so wrestling heavy, and it's all about the athleticism now, and it's not so much about the soap opera aspect of it, but that's what I miss from WWE. If you guys watched the NoDQ live video, I expressed my thoughts on what I think wrestling needs right now, and it needs more of the soap opera element, but that's just my opinion. I mean, there are tons of fans out there that love what WWE's doing right now, and I love a lot of the stuff, but I miss the old days when you had the soap operas and you had strong character development and every person on the roster had a story, even if it was a ridiculous one. And Russo shows were always entertaining. They were never boring. I mean, they were train wrecks a lot of the time, but one thing you could say about Russo is that he was never boring. So if I was going to have either Russo or Bischoff come into WWE, I would go with Russo. This one comes from Michael. Do you think Daniel Bryan could bring in Hideo Itami to face The Miz? Bryan has been high on Kenta for years, plus the similar styles. That would be a good way to introduce Itami, but I think by the time Itami comes to the main roster, that Bryan-Miz feud will be long over. I'm not expecting Itami to debut on the main roster for a bit, just because I think the company is going to be cautious with him, make sure he can perform at a high level on a regular basis without getting injured again. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of guys in NXT that could fill that role instead of Itami. A lot of guys that Bryan could bring in to feud with The Miz and possibly beat The Miz for the IC title. Got this one here from Frenchie the Chef. Hey Aaron, don't you think it would bring big money to WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling if they let the New Day versus the Elite happen? I think that it would have limited appeal just because most casual WWE fans are going to have no idea who the Elite are. It's something that's very marketable to the core WWE audience that watches New Japan and is familiar with outside promotions. And I doubt WWE would ever do that without the Elite being signed to WWE contracts. I do not see WWE using outside talent for a match. I would be very surprised if they ever did a cross-promotional match like that. It's just not in WWE's nature, something they've never really done in their history. They like to have matches with guys that are signed, sealed, and delivered. This one comes from Javier Reyes. What do you think about the Revival losing the titles, then going to SmackDown and taking the titles from Slater and Rhino? Too soon for the Revival. Right now, if there's any team that's going to beat Slater and Rhino, first of all, it's probably going to be the Usos. And then American Alpha is next in line. WWE just called up Alpha, and they're the guys that should be winning the titles in the near future, if not from Slater and Rhino. And, it's going to be the Usos most likely because the Usos just turned heel, and you have the heel versus face dynamic with Usos versus American Alpha. Now, down the line, maybe sometime next year, maybe the second half of 2017, yes, I could see the Revival losing the titles and coming to SmackDown to rekindle their feud with American Alpha. That, I think, there's a very good chance of happening sometime next year. That'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks for watching. Check out the other videos on NoDQ.com at youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ. Subscribe to my personal channel at youtube.com/AaronRift. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for coverage of the upcoming WWE Night of Champions pay-per-view. See you guys next time.